at that time when I did Canada's Got Talent, I would say like my voice there wasn't even 100%. It was like maybe
Wow. So you're still recovering
5 to
there.
70%. Yeah, I was still recovering, but I think the one thing I was gonna say, one of the mentors that I got to work with before going on Got Talent a week before was Cheryl Porter.
You
I got
slayed
to
that
do.
video, by the way.
Thank you. It was an honor working with her. She says technique is really important, but like everything is very mental at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I was at a time when I auditioned for Got Talent where I was kind of like, I was scared because I didn't want to get rejected again. And I
Yeah.
also had this really hard time believing in myself. So it was one of those scary moments getting up on that stage. Yeah, I'll be standing there by you. Yeah. Your love is all that I need. And I found it right in your heart. Knowing that I wasn't 100% with my voice, but I had to give it my all regardless. Yeah, and then I became a finalist. It really like solidified my purpose on doing this career, especially because I was like having second thoughts. I feel like even if I did go on the academic route, I feel like I would have gone back to it anyway because it's always just been in my heart. And I'm feeling.
Oh my.
I'm so honored to be talking to you, Raymond. This is amazing. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good too. You've just said to me
Yes.
off camera that, it's been a big week for you, and I'm so grateful that you've fit time in to speak to me today in this podcast. I'm a musician myself, and I relate to you in many different
Yes.
ways as a queer artist, also half Filipino. And, just listening
Yes.
to your conversations, you've described yourself as an introvert. I would describe myself as an introvert too, funnily enough. So without further ado, please, for those, I think the whole world knows who you are. 3 million followers on TikTok, 1 million on Instagram, and 100,000 on YouTube. But for those who don't know you, would you be able to just give a brief explanation of who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Raymond Salgado. I am 27 years old, born and raised on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. And I've been singing ever since I was 11 years old. And I'm currently just working on original music, but I've been, posting covers online, and that has been doing really well for me on social media. And yeah, just sharing my heart to the world.
That's
So,
so
and
good.
continuing to do that. So,
So
yeah.
from what I've researched, you've said that you see yourself as a vocalist first and a songwriter second. Why do
Mm-hmm.
you see that? Why not a vocalist and a songwriter together?
Mm-hmm. Because I think the singing came first to me, and it was something that I knew at a young age that I wanted to do first, but I never really considered stepping into the songwriting until later on. So I think songwriting is very secondary to me, but it's sort of coming into my life more frequently just because I've been in the studio creating and working with different producers and songwriters. So, but I would say that first and foremost, the singing came first before sex, before songwriting.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
in the household, being Filipino, of course,
Yeah.
did you have a lot of karaoke growing up?
Yeah, there was so much, a lot of karaoke. You just yeah, your typical Filipino household. Music was always embraced in the household, and I think was like one of the reasons why I got into it, just because my parents, my family are such music lovers. So I began to love it as well, and then it became a huge saving grace for me that I didn't realize would be really pivotal in my life, you know?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you come from a small island in Nanimo? Is that, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Nanaimo. Yeah, Vancouver
Nanaimo,
Island.
Vancouver
Yeah.
Island.
So I'm from Vancouver Island, but I was born and raised in Nanaimo, and yeah, I've
Yeah.
been on this island my whole life.
Yeah,
Yep,
because my
ever since
mother
birth.
is an
Yeah.
immigrant as well from the Philippines in the lower half, Surigao del Sur, and she came here when she was
Okay.
around
Oh, Del
21.
Sur. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
interesting
to
because
Australia.
my dad is from Dupux del Sur, so
Oh, there
maybe I
you
don't know if
go.
it's like, yeah.
Is that close? I'm not sure the
I'm not
geography.
sure either.
It sounds
I'm not sure
similar.
either. It
Yeah.
sounds similar because this is Del Sur, so I'm like, now I need to look it up.
Yeah.
But and then my mom is Ilocano, and she's from Santiago. So, but it's funny because my parents, like both my mom and dad, they didn't meet in the Philippines. They actually met in Canada. So
Oh,
my mom already moved in the early 90s, and my dad was still working abroad, but the ship that he was a shipman, so his ship like was boarded here, and that's how they met. Yeah, early 90s.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about your the first competition you ever did, you said, and you sung the song Ben. It's
Oh
it's very
yes.
interesting you say that. The first song I
Mm-hmm.
ever wrote was inspired by Ben. Can you
Oh,
believe
that's so
that?
crazy.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
why does Ben appeal to you as a song? I'm curious because for me it was the very fact that he was singing about his rat, and it was so personal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's such a beautiful song, and it's Michael Jackson personified in music. So what about you?
Yeah.
How do you connect to that song?
Well, it's interesting because recently I've been actually today, actually weirdly enough, I was just looking at this um basically it was a compact album, and it had that song on it. So like when I sang that song at I was actually 11 years old actually. Yeah, I was 11. So it was like my first ever singing competition. I was so inexperienced. And I ended up winning my category that year. But this is the thing where I feel like when I went into singing, I didn't really realize I had a gift, you know? I knew that I think as young as I could like I had a really good ear when it came to music, so I it was easy for me to sort of follow along a melody, but I didn't really realize how I guess like special that was.
Yeah,
But
you
I
won the
think just
competition and you had no vocal training, just natural talent.
no. Yeah, and then actually funny enough, the one of the judges that were there ended up being my teacher of over a decade, and she like is the reason why I have a career in music, and I really give a lot of gratitude and so much like thanks to her and homage to her. Like my teacher Andrea Bertram, she
Yeah.
um was in the audience and she saw a lot of potential in me. So I really like thank her for that because I wouldn't be where I am today. And obviously like my parents putting me into that competition, my mom, like just kind of it was kind of forced to be honest. I'm not gonna lie because I was like inexperienced when I
Typical
went
Filipino
onto that
parents.
stage. Yes, but in terms of the song itself, and there was this album, and it was a compilation of like Jackson 5 hit songs, and Ben was on there.
Mm.
And so that was like one of the songs that I sang in this competition. So that whole album in itself and some of the other songs like got to be there, and their version of Rockin' Robin and a few other songs like that really became a part of like my life and the beginning of something like just really special. So the Jackson 5 growing up was really like, a pivotal moment of just like discovering music and really just enjoying like all different types of genres.
Yeah, from an
Yeah.
article I read, your singing teacher Bertram said, she described you as this shy kid who came on stage, but and she wasn't sure what to expect. But as soon as you opened your mouth, like she dropped her pen, she was shocked and in awe. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy to see why. I mean, you're seriously one of the most amazing singers I've literally heard all across the internet right now. And
Thank you.
how does it feel to have a voice so well angelic?
Well, I appreciate that a lot. It's interesting because I think like I myself, I still find it really weird for me when people recognize me. Like, I've had people like come up to me on the street or like do a double take and be like, "Oh, I watch your videos," like, and and then I hear all these stories that people message me about online, whether in comments around the world, and so it really does blow my mind because I think like as a child, I never really felt worthy of existing, and there was a lot of alienation when growing up in the small town that I grew up in, even though I love Nanaimo and like the people and the culture and just the nature of it all. I think it was really tough for me because there wasn't really a lot of like Filipino or Asian people in my school growing up.
Mm,
So it was really hard sometimes. And so like music really became such a saving grace in my life before it became apparent to me that I had a gift of performing and being um you know or being aware of having the ability to make people feel something through music. So it was, you know, really it's been such a journey, but it's also been such a labor of love. And I'm still sort of on this journey of just um, finding a lot more about myself as I
mm.
grow older. But yeah, I think that whenever somebody tells me like that I'm talented or when I'm, just being appreciated for what I do, it's a really huge compliment. And like, it really does mean the world to me because I have a lot of days where I still don't give myself enough credit. So when people like say that, it really does mean the world to me, you know,
Yeah.
more than words can describe. So
Because you
yeah.
were thrown into the limelight at, well, auditioned for American Idol at 19, which you were rejected, and then
Yes.
24
Mm-hmm.
Canadians got talent. So
Yeah.
it's funny because until the age of around 27, I mean, I'm 29 myself, around this sort
Yeah.
of age is when we become more sentient and self-aware.
Yes.
And prior to this, all things just happen and you're just in the flow of things. What an insane experience for you to be having all this platform now and shown to the whole world. But it's kind of until around 27 that you start to realize who you are. So does it feel weird that you've this has all happened to you and you're still piecing it together?
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like my journey is still going, like every day I'm still learning more about myself, and but it's also interesting to me because, you know, when I was younger and I was trying to figure out like what my purpose was in life, um I always, like I said, I in the beginning in growing up, I didn't really feel like worthy of existing until I found music, and music became such a pivotal point in my life, but I didn't realize later on that this was something that I was going to pursue for the rest of my life.
Mm.
So it not only became a huge blessing and a best friend, but it also gave me a chance to share that with the world. And that's a beautiful thing. And so, I mean, as I'm on this journey right now of self discovery and just stepping into my shoes of adulthood, it's interesting to go back to those moments in my life of like where I was to where I am now. But I give myself a lot of like gratitude and grace of the fact that I persevered through everything. And I
Mm.
think that's something that um I owe to myself because regardless of what people thought, I was always so consistent with my passion for music, and passion is something that you can't teach somebody, it
Yeah,
has
of
to come
course.
from here.
Yeah.
So I've always um just been grateful that I never gave up on my dreams, you know.
Yes. Yes, passion is certainly something you can't
Mhm.
teach. I was doing a gig last night. I got home at around 3 a.m. ready for this. But there was a
Yes.
kid when I was performing, and this kid was just standing there the whole time. And he said, "What time does your set finish?" I said, "Oh, around 10 p.m." And he's just like, "Oh, well, we'll stay till 10 p.m." Not because of me, but like because the whole band. And you could just see the passion like light up in his eyes. And it just reminded me
Oh,
when you said, passion can't be taught, because this kid
no.
just, you could see he's just lived and breathed music. And some people have it, and some people don't. But you can see when the people love music, it just emanates from their spirit.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you having Filipino parents,
Yeah.
you said that you were working in healthcare for a bit before. Was
Yeah.
that influenced because of your parents?
I would say to some degree. I mean, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. Like how it went about was that my mom was kind of fed up that I was just at home, and they were like, "Oh, like you need to like
Do
do
something.
something with your life and
Yeah.
work," you
But
know?
didn't you have all of
And
these avenues? So you're like on Canada's Got Talent, and that was all still happening, right?
that was actually way so it was before it. So
Okay.
when I got my job was when I auditioned for American Idol, and that didn't work out, and I was devastated about that.
Yeah.
And then the following year, so it was actually 2021 was when I auditioned for American Idol, and that didn't work out for me. But that was around the same time I got the job, and I was just starting that venture. And then Canada's Got Talent was actually late 2022. But interestingly enough, I went through this really bad sort of physical and mentally debilitating sort of year, because I ended up like losing my voice at one point due to COVID. I had a
Mm.
really like bad cough, and then I end up coughing so much that I at one point couldn't speak, and like so my speech was really weakened, and then even just being able to belt, I
Mm.
wasn't able to have the same quality of voice, so I had to really like build sort of on my and just be patient, actually just rest, so it was kind of a scary sort of time because I didn't really think that my voice would be the same anymore.
Mm.
I thought that my voice was damaged, and I ended up going to like an ENT. But then around the time that I went to the ENT was when my voice was finally sort of getting back, because the wait list was like I maybe like 7 to 8 months. So when
Mm.
I inquired, which was March or even earlier, maybe March or April, they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to wait like a few more months."
Yeah.
Until yeah, and that was frustrating for me. So but I had a very great voice teacher at the time that I was being taught by, named Alida Anarico, who is in Vancouver. And so she kind of helped me sort of like with some exercises and ways to like kind of like revive my voice, but it took a while. I
Mm.
had to wait until like my voice was still like healed. But even then it was hard because I think mentally I was like not in a really good place. And I think people forget that when you're in like um how do I say this? When you are the human voice, the way that you treat yourself physically and mentally, or when we get impacted physically or mentally, it really affects the human voice.
Yeah.
So any sort of stresses or sicknesses or the way that we treat our bodies like really impact our performance, as singers. But a lot of people don't realize um, how fragile the voice is.
Mm.
So I really take the voice health really seriously, especially now that I'm like recording in the studio quite more often. And then when I have a performance, I got to be healthy 24/7. I
Mm.
can't afford to be sick, especially if there's like a gig and it's last minute, like you kind
Mm.
of have to like be ready for anything. But yeah, in terms of like the work, like I went into healthcare first, but this was a part-time job as a COVID screener, and I wasn't really doing anything at that point, and every the world was still isolated, right? So it
Mm.
was like a weird time for the world. But yeah, I actually like left my job this year. I got laid off, but I was waiting for that moment to get
But
laid
this is
off
what
so
you
that I
wanted.
can do,
Yeah.
yeah, so I can do this full time, music full time, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, my parents was a huge sort of like influence on just like, yeah, you need to do something. And I think having Filipino parents, I'm grateful for the fact that my parents raised me the man that I am today. Like
Mm.
without them, I wouldn't be where I am without them. And um, but despite a few of like the teachings and things, like I know when it came to the idea of me pursuing music, even though they acknowledged that I had a gift, and I owe the world to them because they're the reasons why I had my lessons with my teacher, and they would like support me through every competition. It was still sort of this fight to prove to them that this was something I was going to do. But
Mm.
this is why I was saying earlier, like I give myself the credit, and also I thank my mentors, like my teachers and everybody who has been there supporting me. Um, because without them, but first and foremost, without myself, I wouldn't be where I am today. So,
Mm.
um, the persistence really helped because then thank God for social media and um being able to expose your gift on there.
Mm.
Eventually, I got seen by people. So it just took a lot of time and perseverance. And also, I think just growing mentally as well,
Mm.
because I think about the things that I'm doing now. And I feel like if I was going to do them at a younger age, I wouldn't be ready for them.
Yeah.
And I realize that when you're putting yourself and you're exposing yourself to such this very chaotic career, which can be very mentally exhausting, and there's a lot of high pressure, and we've heard all of the stories from younger artists who got into the industry really young, you know. Um, I'm just glad that I was able to just like kind of grow into childhood and go into my adulthood in my younger years too before stepping into this venture, because I'm realizing how much of a responsibility it is, of taking care of yourself, advocating for yourself, protecting
Mm.
yourself. There's so many layers to it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was really tough though when it came to having my parents finally like, see the bigger picture and be like, oh yeah, like my son has something special and there's a lot of things happening. And I don't know. I mean, even to this day, I feel like until like I make, you know, like big money or a sustainable income, then I think that's when they'll like finally just let go. But I
Yeah.
think it can be really like a lot though, because I remember having arguments with my mom about pursuing this career, and she was just really like, well, no, you need to go to school, and she was really persistent with that for a while, a long time. So,
Yeah. No, I
until
relate to
more
you.
recently.
I mean,
Yeah.
growing up with Filipino parents as well, music, Filipino genes, so many people can sing in the family. And so they kind of take it for granted actually doing a career in music. It was never really
Mm-hmm.
seen as an option for me growing up. Like, she's like, what would you like to be? A doctor, engineer, whatever. So I studied engineering because I thought that's what we had to do. We had to study something, a real domain. And so now that I'm actually getting working in music, like it doesn't feel like I'm actually doing a real job because of that upbringing with the Filipino parents
Yeah.
saying you need to do something like that. But just going back to uh, what you were talking about with losing your voice, I know
Yeah.
growing up for myself, growing up queer and I grew up with heaps of body image issues with terrible eczema, which I had. And so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
our self-worth comes with our talents, for me, it
Yeah.
was playing the piano and singing. And
Right.
when I suffered with horrible eczema, which is kind of how I how we connected because I went viral on a different platform talking about my whole
Yeah.
experience with eczema. But when I
Mm-hmm.
lost that ability to play the piano because my eczema was so bad, it's like almost your
Oh,
self-worth in a sense.
yeah.
Like it's the only thing you have left. Like you know what I mean? So when you
Yeah.
lost your voice and you weren't able to sing anymore, did you how did you feel in the sense that the one
Yeah.
your gift was gone, and now it's almost for me myself when I couldn't play the piano, it's like my gift was gone, and now I couldn't sort of validate myself, even though it shouldn't be like that, but mentally sometimes it ends up like that, because we should be perfect as we are, but sometimes we
Yes.
just we want to show off our gifts to try to compromise, which it shouldn't be. But if you're not in a
Yeah.
healthy mindset, unfortunately sometimes you end up doing that. So losing your gift,
No.
it can be devastating because now the one way you used to communicate to the world is gone, and the one way you could show your worth is gone. So how long did it last when you lost your voice, and how did you feel during it?
Yeah, it was like several months, it took a while, but even when my voice was starting to get back to normal-ish, it wasn't fully where I knew I was capable of from from what I know because I've worked on my voice for a long time. So when I lost the ability, it literally was probably one of the hardest times of my life. Like I was kind of just like I was devastated, and it scared me because I was like, well, this is like my livelihood.
Mm.
This is like who I am, one piece of who I am. And um I didn't know if my voice was going to come back the way that it did, but I'm grateful that just, me having rest and just mentally working on myself and having the mentors that I had at that time help me, like um the voice teacher in Vancouver, Alita, and then also funny enough, before my Canada's Got Talent audition and everything, and when I kind of had the feeling that I was like, oh, I want to do this. We'll see how this goes. I'm not sure if it's going to go the same way because I was still really skeptical with what happened on American Idol. And knowing
Mm.
that this is another reality TV show again, I didn't want to like disappoint myself again. So, um, even at that time when I did Canada's Got Talent, I would say like my voice there wasn't even 100%. It was like maybe
Wow, so you're still recovering
5 to
there.
70%. Yeah, I was still recovering, but I think the one thing I was gonna say, one of the mentors that I got to work with before going on Got Talent a week before was Cheryl Porter.
Wow.
And so
Yes, I
I
saw
got
that
to
video.
do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a great
So I
video.
got to do,
You slayed
yeah,
you
I got
slayed
to
that
do.
video, by the way.
Thank you. It was an honor working with her. She's so lovely. And she basically said something to me on the lines of that, like, yes, like technique is one thing, and obviously putting in the work and exercising your voice is really important, but like everything is very mental at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I was at a time when I auditioned for Got Talent where I was kind of like, I was scared because I didn't want to get rejected again. And I
Yeah.
also had this really hard time believing in myself. So it was one of those scary moments getting up on that stage,
Mm.
knowing that I wasn't 100% with my voice, but I had to give it my all regardless and kind of just stick with the story that I was presenting on reality TV in front of like thousands of people. So it was definitely really scary for me, but like the whole process of that year of losing my voice and then everything going towards it for doing another TV show, even getting rejected. And the funny thing was that when I did Got Talent, it was just when I did the filming for it, it was just a year that I auditioned for American Idol. So it was kind of like, oh gosh, okay, let's see how this goes this time. And then it ended up going in my favor.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I became a finalist, and that was like really shocking to me. But I think that it really like solidified my purpose on doing this career, especially because I was like having second thoughts going through my mind of like, oh, maybe I need to do something more perfect, like, yeah, more, sustainable and ethical, but I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like even if I did, I would have found my way back to music because it's always just been there for me. So I feel like even if I did go on the academic route and like it wasn't me doing what I loved, then I feel like I would have gone back to it anyway because it's always just been in my heart. So,
Would there be anything else you would do if not for music?
mhm.
Like, is there any other career path that interests you?
um I think definitely uh probably like being a therapist, I would say. I
Mm.
think I would love to cater towards like the youth. I wished growing up I had someone. There was a few great like counselors and therapists I did talk to in my youth, but sometimes I wish, it's having that good support system and having that trust in confiding in somebody that I find that a lot of the youth and like early teens struggle with,
Mm.
because it's hard to be vulnerable, and I
Yeah.
think that I've always been an emotionally intelligent person, so talking about it, even though it took a bit, like I was able to sort of like just let people know what was going on. And I think I'm somebody that like can't really hide his feelings that well. I think people just kind of have this feeling of like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? You know? So, yeah, I think being like a therapist, like music therapy would probably be one thing too, as well. I can see myself doing, but yeah, probably being a therapist, I would say. How about you though?
Probably being a teacher, which I'm doing right
Mm-hmm.
now. Uh, because it's interesting when you say everything cycles back to music for you, because
Yeah.
I kind of, had that platform where I got to 65K followers and I was talking to all these
Yes.
people and going interstate. And but I mean, I love helping people when it comes to healing people's eczema, because it's a body image thing, it's self-worth, but it's not something I wanted to stay in for the rest of my life. Talking
Right.
about all the negativity that you went through, and the hardship of healing yourself and all the suffering of people. It's really awful to see all these young kids coming to me in the first place because they're in debilitating pain themselves. And it's such a
Yeah.
blessing for me, and I'm so humbled that I can help these people. But I think for me, I've given it a break for a year now, just because it's quite
Mm-hmm.
a lot to deal with, the trauma,
Yeah.
and it's always returning back to my own trauma, helping these people. Uh, but at the same time, my passion's always been music to begin with, and even if it never took off and I'm just a teacher, and nothing, blessing to be a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy because it's passion, you know.
Yes.
So
That's beautiful.
when you know uh I've got some of the lyrics from the songs you've written, like Filter. What an amazing song. There's no
Mm.
filter for
Thank
that.
you.
And
Yeah.
Runaway, I've been locked in this prison cell.
Yeah.
Is this where's this all this intense emotion come from? Is
Oh
this
my
is
goodness.
this like, I mean, I relate growing up queer and growing up with body image issues with my eczema. Part of us just wants to hide away.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's so true. Well, I give so with Filter, I co-wrote that with Kyla Rollins and Jody Wegner, and they actually really inspired me and they helped me through a really dark time. And actually, funny enough, that was around before I did Got Talent, so a few months
wow.
before I even auditioned. It was like when I wrote that song with them, and it was a dark time because like I said, my voice wasn't 100%, and I went through a rejection with Idol, and I was working at a job that I didn't want to be there for, but I needed to make money, and
Mm.
so it was a really tough time. And funny enough, Filter came about. It took maybe almost half a year to finish the song. because we had one direction that we went to first, which was, I think, the original idea and the original song itself was gonna be called I think it's something about I can't be the only one. And then we were trying to make it more uplifting, and we're kind of making it more motivational, but then I came to realize that sometimes we just have to say it how it is and really be honest. And even if it's, not what we want to say, it's really important to really put it out there, and I wanted to make something really vulnerable and something that came from the heart. And really, Jody and Kyla really inspired that. But I was very vocal, where it's like, you know what, let's just like say it how it is. Let's say everything that I want to say, even if it is dark. Yes, there is a little bit of um a light during like the ending of the song. Like I think I say starving for the likes, but when I'm learning to love myself.
Mm.
So, but it used to be starving for the likes when I don't even like myself, and that was like the ending, but we changed it to like, bring this awareness where it's like, yeah, it is a really dark time, but I'm still gonna fight to love myself. And I think like lyrically too, I think it goes like, sometimes I wear a disguise, frame my face, hide my eyes, but
Mm.
only scars are left inside. Sometimes I let my mind lose the fight, shut off the world till it all goes black. It almost takes over my life, but there's no filter for that. And I think that's like really the whole concept, is just like we go onto social media, and I feel like a lot of the time we kind of just share like these very like positive moments in our life, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
really see these creators talk about like these things. And there's a whole stigma like towards it all, of just like, especially when it comes to us men, talking
Mm.
about our feelings, it's not really like talked about a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
think like it's getting a little bit more better when it comes to people talking about our feelings and expressing them now. So that's a really good thing that I'm able to see, because I feel there's a lot of people on these platforms talking about their lives and these really like empowering stories,
Mm.
so, but it's important, once you have a platform and you're building a career, it's like a lot of people are seeing that, not just like people of our age, but like the youth, so we have a job and a responsibility. And so for me, when it comes to like my music and talking about like really important subjects like mental health or body image, etc., like I really make that the point of showing each and every layer, even if, I'm uncomfortable of sharing those things. I think it's really important to like really share those, like every
Yeah.
layer, especially when you're being an artist and putting yourself out there,
Were there ever moments for you where you didn't want to share? You know, like looking at Justin Bieber when Finesse came to him with the song "Lonely," and he says, "I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to share this. It's too vulnerable potentially." For me
Yeah.
myself, I came out this year at 28, and
Yes.
I was writing 10 years of songs of just things I didn't
Wow.
relate to, like trying to pretend to be in love with women and writing about that. And it's just, I hated the music. And because I thought that's what it took to write, a hit song or whatever, is you have to have something that other people can relate to, not what I relate to. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all about storytelling and
It
sharing
is.
the beauty within yourself. So were there ever,
Yes.
and having said that, now it's at this age where I'm actually being
Yeah.
honest, where I actually love my own work now, and never used to be the
Yeah.
case. So for you, is there any, like, well, I think it's a given that there'd be fear sharing something so vulnerable, but
Yeah.
did you ever hesitate to share songs where you dive into that darkness, out of fear of what people might think, or, the whole stigma around mental health and,
I think so. Yeah, I would say so, because I think like that's why I think writing became so secondary. But funny enough, when you reference Runaway, I wrote that when I was 16 or 17.
wow.
So that was sort of the start of like my songwriting, but I didn't really know. that it would be a thing till later on, because I was kind of like, well, I'm just a vocalist first because I learned how to sing first, you know? But I did play actually, funny enough, I didn't mention this part,
Yeah,
but
you
I'm
said you
mentioning
play
it
the
now.
piano.
But
No, I
yeah, I played the
researched.
piano.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
I played that first. Like that was the first instrument that I learned before singing. But yeah, like at 16 or 17, that was sort of like how I started to write. But it was just like not a consistent thing, you know?
Mm,
But those memories of getting into onto the piano and just like writing and kind of banging on the piano and just figuring out chords and lyrics. Yeah, that was kind of the start to like the songwriting journey, but it didn't really become more apparent till maybe 2022, to be honest, because songwriting is so vulnerable, right? And so
mm-hmm,
when you have to be ready for that, you know? And it takes a lot of time to be 100%, ready to do that. Like, but it's a process too, right? Because mental health is like a process and we go through it every day. And we learn about ourselves every day. So it's actually never ending. You're always learning about yourself. So
mm-hmm,
when you were talking about how, it took you a while to really just like, for one to come out, right? And then now you're happy with the material that you're writing.
mm-hmm,
It's like the same with me too. I think even when I knew there was potential, like mentally, there was just like a blockage, you know? And so letting go and just being free of myself and just letting myself say what I had to say, um, it's actually a work in progress to this day, to be honest, because I think as time goes on, like and still young, considerably so.
mm-hmm,
So it's like, I think that right now is the start and it's the time to just like process, work on ourselves, and that's what I've been doing right now. But I think like um I'm at this point where the more that I grow older, I'm just like at this kind of stage of not feeling the need to explain myself to people that don't get me anymore, because I used to be such a people pleaser.
mm,
And I have those moments where I still do people please, but I'm getting to this point where I'm like, well, if they don't understand who I am, then like I shouldn't have to explain myself. Like I know myself, my friends know who I am, and I'm just like here to create music that I think um that I enjoy. And also it's just one of those things, because I think like we always are so afraid of like an opinion, which like
mm.
is very valid, because everyone, there's free speech, so like people will say pretty nasty things online or just in person, and will say their opinions, state their opinions, whatever. But like,
Mm.
it's one thing to have a preference when it comes to liking something, but then if you're just gonna be plain rude and disrespectful, then that's a whole thing.
I guess
So
a lot of these people are, working 9 to 5 jobs, and they look at you with a huge following, and they might envy what your platform, and
yeah,
they're probably in a dark place themselves, and just anyone
exactly.
who says anything negative really probably most likely aren't in a happy place themselves, and they just want to bring others down. And
Yes, and I mean, I think that's what we have to do, is like we still have to be kind,
mm,
definitely, but I think like I'm at this point where I'm now also like I don't want to let people tell me otherwise anymore.
yeah,
Like you know, I'm still working on myself. I'm still working on loving myself. And um, there's moments where I can get into a very dark place and not give myself credit, or like I go into the self negative talk. I mean, be me being ADHD,
mm,
there are those like sort of yeah, those things that happen when we're ADHD, when we just go deep into our thoughts. And it
mm,
can be exhausting and it can be a lot. But yeah, I just think that like, you know, if you're a good person and yeah, when you're a good person, then you have nothing to worry about. And when you love something that you love doing, then it's like no one can say anything and no one should you shouldn't have to feel threatened when somebody tries to, you know, ruin that, you know? I mean,
Mm,
at the end of the day, yeah, like feel what you have to feel because like it is valid when somebody like says something really negative
mm,
because like us humans are allowed to feel those feelings, but I just feel like I'm at this point where my life is like, why would the drama? Like, why should I like waste my time and energy on people who don't care when there's a
mm.
lot of people,
You do.
in my circle and like the platform I'm building that do care and appreciate me for
Mm.
me. So,
And do you have an out?
and
Sorry, you go.
no, you go.
I was going to
Sorry.
say, do you have an outlet when all of this sort of when negativity is thrown your way?
Yeah.
I mean, for me myself, growing up with like the Filipino side of the family, they can be very conservative and very traditional,
Right.
and have those traditional
Mm-hmm.
values, right? And so, I mean, I was talking to my auntie this year when I went to the Philippines, and she said to me, love between two men is not a real thing, Brad. I think one day you'll find love with a woman, and you can settle down and have kids. Isn't that something you want? You should pray for that. And I don't know. I
Oh
don't I don't
Lord.
I don't sort of internalize that anymore. I kind of use that
Mm-hmm.
as fuel to, well, I just talk about it in a constructive way online. And I remember when
Yeah.
before I came out, I was thinking to myself, it's in hindsight, it's not really that big of a deal. But when you're in the closet, for anyone, obviously anyone who's gay knows how challenging it can be. But I was thinking, if I can just help one person by uploading really vulnerable information about myself, then it'll be worth it, you know? And even if there's 99% of comments of traditional family and friends saying, this is, we respect you as a person, but you should keep what your
Yeah.
preferences or whatever you do in the bedroom to yourself. We don't want to know, but it's not about that to me. It's about helping people who are also struggling with their
Yes.
sexuality and their preference. It's not as simple
Mm-hmm.
as just what you do in the bedroom. It's literally the struggle of years and years of self-hatred, self-worth issues, and then helping the next
Yeah.
generation deal with that.
Absolutely.
And so if
Yeah.
people reached out to me once I shared a coming out letter and all this other stuff, and they said thank you for sharing that because I resonated with that. I saw myself in that.
I love
And so
that.
if you can help one
It's
person, it's
beautiful.
amazing.
It
But
is.
I was going to ask you, do you have any, like, when you get that negativity, how do you deal with it? Do you channel it into your music?
Yeah, I feel like I channel it into my music, or if it's more physical release, then it's swimming. I love swimming.
Oh,
So like
awesome.
yeah, I go usually swimming with my cousin, and that's like always a release for me. Makes my
Beautiful.
body feel really good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, mostly just music, Actually, but there's moments where like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, but I think it's so important to have those moments of like rest because
Mm.
people don't realize that like when you are giving yourself to people and a gift, like ours to like perform for people, it can be so exhausting. So sometimes the only thing to do is just to rest, and
Yeah.
not to feel bad for that. With someone with ADHD, sometimes I get very like, oh, like I feel guilty. I should have done something today. But I'm in this learning process of like, you know what? I'm okay with not doing anything today. And I'm just going to rest my mind and take time for myself. And whether that's going out for a walk, going swimming, spending time with my friends, my family, anything that makes me feel good physically and mentally, I'm going to do that and advocate for me, before anybody else, because, the people can wait when it comes to us artists and when we're ready to speak on that or express ourselves, you know, it's the floor is ours whenever we're ready to do that. So there's no rush into sharing um our thoughts, right away. Um Especially when it
Mm.
comes to like sexuality, which is a big thing for the both of us. I came out when I was 17, but you know, I also lied when I was 14 or 15, I think was when I said I was bisexual.
Mm.
So like but it took me a while to to even just say like the words I am gay, and I remember saying that to one of my close friends, and I was just basically in tears. And this was like, I think the first day of senior year when I was like, or before senior years, and I was like, oh, I'm gay.
Mm.
And it was hard to say
What
that,
was her reaction? Did she say it's okay, or did she say,
Yeah,
no,
she said it's
no?
okay, and like she said it was okay, but it's so funny because like when I told my friends, like, I mean, honey, we've been knowing, like, you know, we've been knowing. Come on, Raymond. Like, no, like, but they know. I mean, my parents knew for a while. A lot of my titas and titos and everyone around me, my godparents, they knew.
Mm, mm,
But I think the thing was for me and what was disheartening because, like when people are like, oh, you're gay, or like they make a comment that sounds like very dehumanizing, right?
mm,
Like they'll make it sound like the most negative thing ever sometimes,
mm.
where then you get the wrong impression. And as a child, when you're learning about yourself and when someone calls you out for it, like, and you don't know like what it means to be gay, or you're
Yeah.
still trying to figure out yourself, right? Like
Mm,
you take that the wrong way. And for me, when I was growing up and people would make fun of me for having a more feminine voice or lighter voice, or I would act more like, you know, just like flamboyant or whatever.
mm,
And I just like remember feeling like it was a threat that being who I was wasn't allowed. And
mm,
so I always felt like I had to camouflage that growing up. And that's why the whole feeling of alienation and not feeling worthy of existing came into manifestation like at a young age.
yeah.
So
That's really
it was
intense.
really tough for me. But like I said, music literally is my saving grace and is the
Mm,
reason why I'm still here, but also being able to express myself fully now. Because I wouldn't be the person and the man I am today without music, you
mm,
know? And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's really tough when like your family members are like saying these things that can be really negative. And like even with it came to my sexuality or even with my weight,
mm,
I've growing up, um, even at a young age, like as young as I could remember, I was always like ridiculed for being a little bit more thicker than
mm,
most men. But that was like not the truth. I look back at photos like way back at a time where I was like considered that, but I wasn't even
I know.
to
Yeah.
begin with. But then it later became this thing where it manifested, and I've been I've been battling this like whole emotional eating thing.
Mm,
And I'm still going through it to this day, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's a lot. It can be a lot, but I
yeah.
think I think even just for you like coming out more recently and being able to share that with the world and not have any shame and to be able to celebrate yourself is a beautiful thing. And I think it comes within us first before the other people. And like,
Yes. You need to love
so the
yourself
fact that
before
you're
others can.
showing, yeah, the fact that you showed up for yourself and you're like, like I can't live this life like being half of myself, I need to be my whole self, is a beautiful thing. So I really
Thank you.
congratulate you for that, even though like it was hard. Like this is like such a new era for you. So
Yeah. Yeah. And,
mm-hmm.
Filipinos, they can be really degrading so casually.
Yeah,
You know what
they
I mean?
can.
They've got all these words and like trigger words that, I can hear them in my head, bayot. I'm not sure if you know what that means. It's like
What does that mean again?
or bakla.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
the Filipino word for gay,
Yeah.
and just ways of putting you in your place very subtly. And yes, look,
I know, it's so crazy. Or casually you go to
casually.
a gathering and they're like, "Oh, you're so fat now. Like what happened?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "What do you
Yeah,
mean?"
people in my family have to deal with that too. The word tabat, or yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
say, "Oh,
hate
it's a
it.
tabat. Oh, you've gained weight." I'm like, "Oh, how can you say that?" But it's like it's
Yeah, I
part of the
know.
culture. Like it's okay to say that in that culture.
When it shouldn't be though, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. And for me, like what I want to achieve in music for myself and like in the future, even if it's a small project, like I want to be able to have mental health accessible in Asia, especially like in the
Mm,
Philippines
mm-hmm.
for the youth. But find a way to have it like accessible to everybody, because I feel like mental health is something as Asians we're not able to really talk about a lot, or we just didn't learn how to express ourselves that way. We just learned to like hide that away,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's a really common thing of like people judging other people in the Filipino community, like whether that's sexuality, the way you look, like just like the littlest things ever. And it's weird to
Mm,
me because I'm just like we all should just like love each other. And I know like in the Filipino community, we are so keen on community,
mm,
and love. And so
mm.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know when
it's
other
funny.
people do it, it's weird.
There's
It's
a lot
really
of because there's a
weird. I
lot
don't
of
like it.
yeah, there's a lot of actually in my family, there's a lot of like closeted gays. And the tradition in the Philippines is just to marry a woman and to
Yes.
keep it quiet the whole life. I mean, like I think that's fairly common back in every culture, but especially in
Yes.
the Philippines, like I, being one of the first to actually come out in my family, it's just very weird for them.
Yes.
Having done it, like someone came up to me in my family and said, I'm also gay, and it's like, you kind of can see that,
Yes.
but we don't talk about it, even though it's obvious to other people. They completely like keep it
Yeah.
quiet and just don't talk about it because it's against their culture. But yeah,
Oh, and I hate that. I just don't because it's like people don't realize, especially the things that people say can really impact somebody's life in a negative way, especially when it's, you know, if you're not careful with what you say, that can really impact somebody's life.
yeah,
So we really have to be careful. But that's the thing in Filipino culture, it's so common for people to put people down, and it's really, yeah, I don't know. It's it's I don't know why, and I don't know how it like started, but yeah,
yeah,
it's something that I don't like, at all. But again, it's like it comes back to people like us to just remain um to just, you know, I think that for the both of us, especially like with what we're going for, we're very lucky that we have a platform or a gift to be able to express ourselves.
mm,
And I think at the end of the day, for people who um are struggling right now with being themselves, whether that's sexuality or loving themselves, having an outlet is so important. And I know that for me, when it comes to having an outlet in music, I just wouldn't be where I am without it. And
definitely.
so I give a lot of gratitude for the fact that I found music, but even just the not so great moments in my life because it makes me who I am today,
Mm,
and a lot more aware of my surroundings and to like who to associate with and who not to associate with, and just
yeah,
like, pay attention to those who love me. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I want to ask you a few lighthearted questions because we've been talking such
Mm,
deep, meaningful stuff.
yes.
So it was just great. I love it. I love it. Um,
Yes.
when you were on the launch or when you're on Canadians Got Talent, who were
Yeah.
like the your favorite judges or like artists to work with?
Oh my goodness. Well, it was an honor, honestly, singing, because at the time when I was 17 or 18, I didn't really like understand how, influential Boy George was,
Yeah.
at that age. But he really is, and he's such a talented artist. So being able to sing in front of him at the time, even though I didn't see it yet, but then later on, I was like, wow, that's a legend.
Mm.
And the fact that he was really right with what he said, though, I'm really like happy he said what he said at that age. I was
He said you
17.
you
I
could
mean,
sing anything. He said, I think.
yes, I could sing anything, and that, it was just gonna take time for me to just find and lock into that emotion of like evoking a song, which
Mm.
he was right. And I'm, yeah, no, I'm so happy that I was so honored being able to just have that like moment with him. And there was also in the same room this guy named Stefan Macchio, who's a Canadian composer, but he's worked with like the record Wrecking Ball with Miley Cyrus and like
Wow.
Earned It by the Weekend. And I think
Great songs.
a few of Celine Dion's tracks as well. So um he and I actually have been talking, and like hopefully like in the future like um we work together, because I've always loved his stuff, but also just as a person and his talent alone, he's just very gifted and such a lovely human being. So that was also
It's beautiful.
a huge honor. Yeah. And
That's
then on
awesome.
Canada's Got Talent, I mean, Canada's Got Talent, like Howie Mandel, obviously, like that was like kind of just like, you see him on like the AGT
Mm.
side of things, and then you know him for like, Deal or No Deal as well. So that was like pretty iconic. And there's Cardinal Official, who's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is an executive for, I think it's, is it Island Records or something like that, or it's Island Def Jam. So that was like a huge honor for me to sing in front of him. Um, but yeah, there's been a lot of moments like that, and like, the Cheryl Porter moment, like
Mm.
that was also an honor as well. And her platform is, it's crazy because it just keeps growing, So but just the person that she is, Cheryl has always been like such a gracious person when it comes to the people she comes across, the potential she sees in the students she works with. She's a very, very giving and gracious person.
Mm.
I love her so much.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's crazy. The other, and then all these like influencers and people that I grew up like loving and admiring, whenever they take the time to just like acknowledge my video and my cover of their song, it's
Mm.
always like means like the world to me.
Like Calum Scott last
So
night, or
yes, Calum Scott, Charlie Puth,
yeah,
follows me on TikTok, and he
that's
only
so
follows like
crazy.
60 people or something like
Really?
that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
maybe
and I'm
he's
one of
songwriting
them.
for you. He's
Oh
thinking,
my
what can I
gosh, you
what can
never
I give
know.
to?
Yeah, he's waiting for the right moment. No, oh my gosh. And there's this artist named Money Long, and she's incredible. And she wrote the song, what was it? Made for Me. Nobody knows me like you do, no. And it's like a really great, it's, oh my gosh, it's like beautiful R&B song. And she has written for like really well-known artists. Like she was a writer first. She was known as Priscilla. That's her like real name, but Money Long, she like is now, that's her artist name. And she's like written for Rihanna, to Mariah Carey, to Ariana Grande, like Katy Perry, even like all these like pop stars.
Mm.
And so even her being able to acknowledge me, know my name, she was like, "Oh, you're Raymond Salgado. Like I watch your stuff. Like,
Mm.
it's crazy." So it's so humbling. It's so humbling. So
So
it
good.
makes me feel good too when people have the time. Even like if we're talking about Filipino like
Mm.
artists too, like Jokoy also like follows me too. She actually messaged me when he saw the Cheryl Porter video, and I got to personally meet him too. One of his shows last year, and he like grabbed my phone and gave like, and there's a video of him saying like, "You're such a talented human being, voice of an angel,"
Mm.
that type of thing. So that was really nice. um yeah, there's been so many like great moments like that, and I'm like so grateful for them. And it's not even like something I expect, just like the whole idea of like just me singing is just coming from a place of like authenticity and just passion. So when I sing from the heart and I post it, it's just I'm putting that intention out into the world
Mm.
and just being myself, and it's never like a gimmick or like I'm trying to be cool or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
I'm
It's so
singing
easy to
from a
chase
place.
trends, but like you got to be
Yes.
you. Yeah.
You have to be. Yes. So yeah, I'm grateful for it all. It's been such a an interesting journey, honestly. Really
Mm.
has been, and it still is.
Is there any moments on TikTok or social media that just stand out to you as like the most like a surreal experience or just makes you laugh?
Oh my gosh. Well, like um even just like companies, like I think the biggest one that I've seen when I was on, well, there's been a couple of times I've actually sang for Money Long on her live stream. And I remember the first time going into her live stream being like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you actually like guessed me. Like, do you know who I am?" Right? That type of thing. And like even just um Disney commenting on my videos quite a bit too as well, because that's like a thing that I grew up loving, whether it
Mm.
was like the old Disney movies to like, my generation of like watching High School Musical and Camp Rock and all of those people. Oh, I mean, there was this really cool time that um my cover of Sober by Demi Lovato was shown.
Yeah,
And
I saw
there's
that.
like they
She
do,
reacted to
yeah,
it.
and that was really cool. Yeah, that was so cool. And then I also got to virtually meet her again for this iHeartRadio thing, but it was online for her album, one of her albums, and I got to tell her how much she meant to me
Oh,
growing up. And yeah, so that was really like awesome as well. So
yeah.
it was sick. It was so cool. But it's crazy. Like when I'm in the room with some of these people, even just like songwriters and producers who produce for like these people that I admired growing up and like these certain records that I admired growing up. It's really surreal to me. It's such a full circle moment, but it's
Mm.
sometimes like I don't even realize I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of like starstruck, but I was like never expecting to be in these rooms with these people at all. So it's been so interesting. It really is. But I'm just like really I'm just always
Yeah,
so
and you're still
grateful,
so
you
young and
know?
you've still got so much more growth to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal because you're such an
I'm so
icon
excited.
to so many
Oh,
a
thank
whole new
you.
generation of people,
Oh my goodness.
queer
Well, I'm
kids,
working on it.
people suffering with their self-worth. It's amazing. Of course, Disney's
Yeah.
going to comment on your on your things because you're an icon, man. So,
Thank you.
I guess my last question to ask is, what do you see? Well, if the version of you in 10 years' time
Yes.
is talking to you
Mm-hmm.
now, what do you
Yes.
think he'd tell you?
Um, I think I believe that the version 10 years from now of myself, and if I were to like have a conversation with him,
Yeah.
I feel like first of all, he'd probably laugh, being like, "You stressed for nothing," you know, like you worried about nothing, like
Yeah.
such a warrior, but a warrior, but
Mm.
like worrying and stuff, but like also like a warrior as well, like for
A warrior,
persevering,
yeah.
yeah, as well. So I think like ideally it would be like I see myself in 10 years, and I believe that I don't know. And this is not in a boastful way at all, because like I really just believe in myself that like this is what I'm supposed to do,
Mm.
is performing. So I see myself touring the world. I see myself um you know just like creating these beautiful records that are meaningful, but also being a force in the Filipino community and being able to inspire a new generation.
Mm.
Um and yeah, using my platform for the better,
Mm.
helping different communities, inspiring different communities. But yeah, meeting a lot of people over the world, touring. I would love to like act as well, but also I think even in 10 years, like I'd hope by then, um, just to like also be, I don't know, maybe married.
Yeah.
I think so. I think in 10 years, I think that's appropriate time. I'll be like 37, so I think I'd be married already by then. So
I love
yeah.
that. I want that for you.
Yeah, I would be married
A big
at
gay
like
wedding
in
in the
just like
Philippines.
yes, and like at a point where I just like love myself, and I'm not like and I'm unapologetic for who I am, and
Mm.
just like knowing my worth, and just knowing who I am and standing on business, and not even having second thought where I'm like over like guessing everything. Like I think that in 10 years that's like where I see myself being. Right now I'm at a point where I'm just like still learning to love myself,
Mm.
and
As we
I'm
all
okay
are.
with saying that, because like I don't know, like for me to say like I 100% love myself right now, like as much as I would love to say that, but I'm not at that stage yet.
Mm.
But I'm okay with saying that because it's a part of the journey, and it's not a bad thing to say that. But yeah, that's where I see myself. Like I see myself being at a place where I just like am doing my thing, And hopefully by then too, it's like, helping out my parents and like everyone who's been there for me, financially, giving back.
Mm,
Because yeah, there's so many people I need to like give back to for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, original music out, maybe singing in movies, acting in movies as well, because I've always like loved I grew up watching like so many movies and like
Mm.
wanting to be a part of those. Maybe even Broadway, who knows?
I
So
can see that
yeah.
for you, like Ben Platt.
Yes. Yes, I can. Yes. Oh my gosh, that would be such a dream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Raymond,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This has been amazing. You're such an icon and you're just kicking goals. And not
Thank
only do you have
you.
such a beautiful voice, but you're seriously the next you're a voice for the next generation of kids who are also struggling with, self-worth and queerness, LGBT. You're an inspiration. So it's been such a
Thank
pleasure to
you.
talk with you today.
It's a pleasure, likewise, and like thank you for letting me speak on your platform, and I love what you do, and yeah, I love what you do. You're such a beautiful human being.
Ah, thank you.